So that's what Israel's doing. They're arresting their own prosecutors, investigators, generals in their own army for telling a 0.0001% of the truth about what's happening in Israel. Okay, just to let you know, if you didn't think Israel could sink any further, well, they just did. Israel media airs footage showing alleged sex abuse of Palestinian detainee. So this is from Thursday, August 8th, 2024, and we've showed you this, where they assault sexually in a prison Palestinian prisoners. We've showed you this. I'll show you a little bit more. So you see how they're all laying face down. These guys come in, shows the Israeli soldiers taking away a blindfolded detainee and allegedly abusing him sexually. So they do. Soldiers can be seen taking the detainee out of sight of the surveillance cameras and then using their riot shields to cover when they looks like they're graping him. So that's what they're doing. Spokesperson for the embassy in Washington did not immediately. Following the incident, Israel arrested 9 soldiers and ordered its own investigation. The arrest of the Israeli soldiers triggered protests by right-wing Israelis. They didn't want those guys who were arrested for graping prisoners to have to stand trial. So they went and protested. So they stormed the facilities, demanding that they release the 9 soldiers accused of graping on video.
It is acceptable, they say.
They say it's acceptable to do that. A spokesman for the U.S. State Department said the reports were horrific.
Yeah. So we have seen the video, and reports of sexual abuse of detainees are horrific. They ought to be investigated fully by the government of Israel, by the IDF. Prisoners need to be treated. Prisoners' human rights need to be respected in all cases. And when there are alleged violations, the government of Israel needs to take steps to investigate those who are alleged to have committed abuses and, if appropriate, hold them accountable.
And so why am I showing you this? Because Israel just arrested the woman who released that video.
Oh, good.
Israel's top military lawyer, their top military lawyer, was arrested after she admitted leaking video of soldiers' abuse. Yeah. Okay. Police in Israel have arrested and detained the military's top legal officer after she admitted leaking footage of soldiers allegedly attacking a Palestinian detainee, and then in fact lying about her actions to Israel's high court. The military advocate general, Yafat Tomer Shalami, said in a resignation letter last week that she had authorized publication of the video to diffuse attacks on military investigators and prosecutors working on the case. So they were investigating these 9 soldiers for graping these prisoners. So they're investigating. The people from the Israeli military are investigating other people in the Israeli military, and they're being attacked for it. They're attacking the investigators and the prosecutors. So what she did was she released the video thinking that would calm people down because they would see the video of them doing it and they'd be like, oh, I didn't know they actually did it. So now we can't. So that's why she did that, because people were attacking the investigators and the prosecutors who were looking into this. So
Where's the Vatican over there, huh?
Right-wing politicians and pundits championed soldiers detained over the case as heroes, attacked military investigators as traitors, and called for the case against the soldiers to be dropped. Tomer Yerushalami has now been arrested on suspicion of fraud and breach of trust, abuse of office, obstruction of justice, and disclosure of official information by a public servant, Israeli media reported. Her arrest and detention raises serious questions about the rule of law in Israel, accountability for abuse and killing of Palestinians during what a UN commission has called a genocidal war, and the country's ability to defend itself in international courts. In July of 2024, prosecutors raided the SDE Teeman Military Detention Center, which has become notorious for torture, and detained 11 soldiers for interrogation. They were suspects in a violent assault on Palestinian from Gaza, including anal rape. The victim was hospitalized with injuries including broken ribs, a punctured lung, and rectal damage, according to the indictment. The government and far-right politicians and pundits have accused her of damaging Israel's global standing. Not the soldiers who did it. Not the soldiers who did it.
Who rape male detainees, not those ones.
Who raped male detainees. They're not the ones.
That is permissible.
So when reporting
It's ISIS to me.
when reporting a crime is treated as a crime, you know you're ruled by criminals. I think that's the quote. It goes something like that. The government and far damaging Israel's global standing by pursuing the case and releasing the video. In effect, casting her efforts to prosecute extreme violence as a project to undermine the Israeli state. So if you do your job, that's like the school bully accusing you of running into his fist. The incident in SDE Teeman caused immense damage to the image of State of Israel and the IDF, the Israeli Prime Minister. So Netanyahu said that. This incident caused immense damage to the image of Israel. Yeah, it should. It should. This is perhaps the most severe public relations attack that the State of Israel has experienced since its establishment. So he's calling this a public relations attack instead of a fact-finding mission that got revealed.
You'd think it would be, BB. You think it would be the worst. But, I mean, where do you find the bottom when it comes to Israel, right?
So this is him deflecting. This is him trying to make you think something else is outrageous, not the thing that's actually outrageous. So reporting on a crime is the outrageous thing, not the crime. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu... And remember, deflection gives Bibi an erection, okay? This is the cover story for the outrage towards the atrocities of the apartheid state. After the first detentions... Wait a minute. After the first detentions of soldiers in the case in summer of 2024, far-right mob gathered outside the prison place called SDE Teeman, calling for the investigation to be dropped. Some of the protesters, including a minister and 2 members of the Knesset, broke into the base. Tomer Yerushalmi leaked the video in August 2024 after the protest, saying in her resignation letter that it was an attempt to debunk false propaganda against army law enforcement bodies. Days later, 5 soldiers were charged with aggravated abuse and causing serious bodily harm. They have not been named and are currently not in custody or under any legal restrictions. That's according to the Israeli media. Tomer Yerushalmi subsequently refused to open or advance investigations into other cases of possible war crimes by the Israeli military because of the pressure of public attacks over the case. And by the way, those 5 soldiers are going to be punished by being sent back to Queens, New York, where they will have to serve out the rest of their sentences with their mothers. There has been only one conviction of an Israeli soldier for assaulting Palestinians in detention during the war, although widespread torture and abuse have been documented in Israel's jail system, and dozens of Palestinians have died in captivity. No soldiers have been charged for killing civilians in Gaza, even high-profile attacks that prompted international outrage, including the killing of paramedics and strikes on a team from the World Central Kitchen charity. Tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians in Gaza have been killed in attacks and airstrikes over 2 years. Attacks on Tomer Yerushalmi over the SDE Teeman affair intensified in recent days amid reports that she was responsible for leaking the video. There were official demands for her to step down and personal threats online even after she announced her resignation. The campaign briefly halted on Sunday afternoon amid fears for her life after her partner reported her missing to the police and her car was found empty at a beach in Tel Aviv area with a note inside. Then she was found, and within minutes the attacks resumed. The far-right commentator Yinyan Magal posted on Twitter, "We can proceed with the lynching." Soon after, protesters had gathered outside her house, Israeli media reported, shouting slogans including, "We will give you no peace." The defense minister, Israel Katz, later accused her of spreading blood libels.
No, that would be what the IDF soldiers did with their dicks, you fucking
Yes.
hump.
Traditionally, Israeli government and military have considered the existence of an independent judiciary a crucial barrier to international legal tribunals investigating Israel for alleged abuses against Palestinians. IDF's chief military advocate, Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi, the very official responsible for prosecuting violations of international law within the Israeli army, reportedly told the IDF chief of staff this morning in her resignation letter that she had personally approved the release of the video showing Israeli soldiers graping a Palestinian detainee last year. According to reports, she explained that the decision came after relentless interference when investigators tried to enter SDE Teman military prison following the conditions there and the latest grape incident that came into their knowledge. Interference led by Israeli ministers, journalists, and political figures who launched a vicious campaign against the military prosecution office and even stormed the base. Let's be clear, Major General Tomer Yerushalmi has never done her basic job to investigate the genocide unfolding under her watch. She approved it. She turned a blind eye again and again, but when confronted with evidence of mass grape against Palestine detainees at SDE Teman, she seems to have realized just how deep the moral collapse of Israel had gone and tried at the very last moment to do something. Not out of empathy for the victims or concern over the violations themselves. She didn't care about that, but because she was trying to shield IDF soldiers by symbolic discipline and limit Israel's exposure to international accountability, potential arrest warrants, sanctions, war crimes investigations, and legal isolations. For the tiniest of act of doing 0.00001% of the job she's appointed to do, today the IDF chief of staff kicked her out because she did a modicum of what she's supposed to do. Because in today's Israel, even the faintest move toward fake accountability from within the IDF is treated as treason. So she wasn't really bringing accountability. She was bringing kind of a fake accountability, actually trying to shield them. But even doing that is seen as treason inside Israel.
No, you have to be an absolutely beyond the pale, absurd liar and not like,
yes,
she's trying to do a reasonable lie to maybe try to,
Because in today, There is no law in the IDF, no moral code, just propaganda carefully repackaged and sold by some Western mainstream outlets to sanitize what's happening. So that's what Israel's doing. They're arresting their own prosecutors, investigators, generals in their own army for telling a 0.0001% of the truth about what's happening in Israel. Okay, just to let you know, if you didn't think Israel could sink any further, well, they just did. They stormed the military prison to demand that they released the soldiers accused of graping Palestinians. They did it because we got it on video.
They fought for the right for grape, the most moral army,
the most moral army on the
citizens of the most
moral army in the world.
Wow. Michael Rappaport, I'll bet, is like, hang that bitch.
Yeah. Come see us in Australia. Second show's added in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. We'll see you in Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday. And then Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. Plus, January 11th, we're going to be in Waikiki at the Blue Note. Tickets not available yet for them, but go to jimmydore.com for a link for all the other tickets.